Time now for Deep Dish, though, a part of the show. We're going to go deep on a topic or we dish about ourselves. So we might get a little bit deep today. The Me Too movement, it blew up in 2017, but author and social commentator Fran Lebowitz says men still don't get it. And she says that it's all about work and that when she was young, you couldn't get a shift as a waitress without sleeping with the manager. Okay, we got a direct quote from her. She says, they do not understand it. Men cannot understand this. I always just say, just agree with me. What do you think? Is this the right approach? We got to put you on the spot here, Jordan.
Well, I guess I'll be wearing the hat of speaking for all men right now, which is a very dangerous thing. But in all honesty, I would say, in sincerity, Fran, I don't get it. So I get what you're saying there. But I do get it, being a man of color and understanding that some of the problems that I deal with in life that people not of color can't understand. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I've learned to evolve and be cognizant of just because they can't walk in my shoes doesn't mean they shouldn't attempt to try and understand what it is like to be in my shoes. They may never get there, but when you start to make yourself aware of somebody's path and the obstacles that are in front of them and how their path is infinitely tougher just because of that's unfortunately how the world laid out is right now, when they learn to understand, they try better to connect the dots, bring everybody closer, and if they're aware of the struggle, they can be an ally. So rather than just say, hey, you're white, you don't understand what it's like for me, you'll never understand what it's like for me, so just sit there and agree. I don't think you're ever going to get a person not of color to say, sure, I'll do exactly what you're asking, Jordan. I think you gather more bees with honey. It's a cheesy phrase right there, but it plays. Yeah. Yes, I don't understand what it's like to be a woman. I can never understand your guys' struggle, but I'd like to learn to understand.
But do you understand like the Me Too movement and why it exists and why why we're talking about
and
this?
I guess that's the thing that you err on the side of is it can be insulting to somebody who absolutely is aware of what's wrong and what's going on. Doesn't mean it's happened to me. I don't need it to happen to me to understand that a lot of what's going on has been awful. And even before the movement became a movement, there was an awareness of it. I don't think I can ever sit there and say, I know exactly what that's like. Of course I can't, but I'm aware of it and I know it needs to change and I'm a full supporter and ally and stand behind this movement because it's very important, it's very necessary. But I don't think it works if you say, Jordan, you don't know, so just agree.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't like that approach.
Right. I think Carly, do you think men understand?
Well, I think the important thing is that there are people that are trying to understand. Like
Exactly.
Jordan is so honest about it. He's saying, I don't know that feeling of, you know, women face all the time of being scared when you're walking down the street and you're passing someone that you don't know what's going to happen. Like men might not have that same inherent fear, but they're trying to understand, and we're having this conversation now, and I think that what we've learned in all of this is that we all need to be super clear about communication. And so the fact that you can just say, I don't understand is a huge step, and we need to be talking about it.
Yeah, because I guess if you ask me if a person not of color understands my struggle, not to the supreme level, because they're not in my shoes, but I think there's several people that are not of color that understand to a degree.
And should still care.
And are interested to learn even more so they can care even more so they can be an ally even more. And I think anytime if I ever start a sentence with, no, you don't understand. So just, you're going to check out a little bit. I think you want to invite more people to be a part of it. Ultimately, I get what Fran's saying here because she's absolutely right. I've never been told I need to sleep with somebody to get a shift. Most men, 99.9% haven't. But we can learn to understand that's clearly idiotic. There's no place for that. I will not let that stand in the world that I'm in.
So I feel like the I don't understand, though, has to be followed up with action. And I'm not speaking directly to you, but just in general, like people say, I don't understand, but we have too many ways where you can understand now.
Exactly.
You know, they're too. It's not an excuse anymore. Like the ignorance can't be accepted. I understand that you don't understand, but what are you working to try? How are you trying to fix that for yourself? And so I would say the two things that are most important with this Me Too movement would be, here's a big word for some men: listen, listen. Listen, listen, listen. That's a great way to work to understand and to build the dialogue, to build the conversation, to build upon what has already been placed in front of you. I think it's also important for women to, it has to be both parties coming to the table at the same time. Like women have to be open and honest and willing to have the conversation. The Me Too movement is not an attack on men. That's not what it's supposed to be. And it's like, if it's being channeled that way, and if that's how you're receiving it, it's a problem. And we're not going to gain the ground that we're supposed to gain. Hold on, I got to get this hair. Got it. And so the other word,
Vintage Felicia,
After
right
I
there,
said
everybody.
listen.
Vintage.
the other word, I'll make it quick. The other word is empathy. You have to have empathy for what you may not understand or may not go through personally, but understand that sometimes things are just tough.
Right.
And I feel like those are the best two ways that you can be an ally. Like, you know, you don't understand what it's like to walk down the street and be afraid is someone going to grab me or take me. I'll literally like take my husband and be like, hey, watch out, like pay attention. And he's like,
not even thinking about
he's
that.
not even thinking that someone could grab us or we could get robbed or anything like that. That's how we as women walk down the street every single day.
With our keys in our hands,
you may not
ready,
understand,
just in case.
right? With our keys in our hand, trying to like do makeshift weapons in our pockets and not be weird, but trust our instincts.
Right.
You know. Also, I think about catcalling. You know, well, maybe you do understand what a catcall is like, Jordan.
Oh, no.
Jordan gets catcalled
Look at me,
all
I
the
don't get
time.
catcalled.
Maybe you do understand, Jordan. But you know what it's like when you're just, you know, you want to be respected. Like I'm a wife, you know, I am someone's daughter, I'm someone's sister. I don't want to be treated like a piece of meat when I walk down the street.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take a compliment any day. But you know, like it's going too far, and it starts with listening and empathy.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, you know, and I'm not connecting the dots at all, but I guess having lost somebody close to me, and people have reached out, there's been an outpouring of love, having lost my brother 2 years ago to a heart attack. So often I would say they don't understand, so this can't help me. Well, maybe people haven't lost people close to their lives. I know Felicia has. I'm not sure if there's ever been somebody truly, truly close to you've lost. But that doesn't mean you can't help me out to help me get through. And I think it's the same kind of thing. I don't need to be a woman. Will never know what it feels like. But I can learn to understand what it may feel like. So I can understand what the struggle is to stand behind you, stand alongside you, and help push towards a better life and a better world.
We're all in it together.